I'm Paula Laurel, and I welcome you to yet another episode of Opus Culinarius. Today's opus is going to be delectable and moist, vanilla, gluten-free and vegan muffins. Yes, all of that in one. It is possible. And I know that the two terms have often taken over a negative connotation of being bad tasting, of being dry, or of simply not being anything similar to their traditional counterparts. And quite honestly, with just a few alterations, you can create a much more healthy and delicious recipe. One that's suitable for everybody, whether you just want to be healthy or you have particular restraints because you've got celiac disease or you want to sort of have a vegan diet. This is a recipe for all. So stay tuned and I'm going to show you how. So I started off by preparing my muffin tin. I just sort of lightly oiled it and dusted it with a bit of flour so they won't stick. And then I set the oven to 160 degrees Celsius, which is about 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And now we're ready to go and create the mixture. Now, much like the recipe for crackers, we're going to start by putting all of our dry ingredients into the mixing bowl and then adding our wet ingredients and putting them in the prepared muffin tin. Now, we're going to use two types of flours for the base of our recipe. And I decided to use a bean flour to give it a lot of protein and cornstarch to sort of lighten it up and give it its nice tender texture. My bean flour, I chose chickpea flour. So we're going to add 2 cups of chickpea flour. 1 and 2 cups, and then 1 cup of our cornstarch. And that combination is going to be our basic flour recipe for this. 1 tablespoon and a half of baking powder to give it a nicely light texture. Half a teaspoon of baking soda. Now I'm adding 2 teaspoons of salt. A tiny bit more. Now for the mega health factor, I just like to find ways of sort of sneaking in my omega 3s and 6 and 9s into whatever foods I can. So I just sort of ground some flax seeds in my blender, and I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup. Now very often in gluten-free or vegan cooking, flax seeds could be used to replace eggs. And I'll talk about that in another episode of how you can really create a wonderful structure with flax seeds. So now that we have all of our dry ingredients, we're just going to mix it up a bit. Yeah. And now we're ready to add our wet ingredients. We're going to add about 1/3 of a cup of coconut oil and then 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. You can also add 2/3 of olive oil or 2/3 of coconut oil. I like using both just because they both lend a sort of different quality. You can actually tell that Berlin has wonderfully warm weather by the fact that my coconut oil is nice and runny and not normally solidified. So we're going to add 1/3 coconut oil. Brilliant. And then 1/3 of olive oil. There we go. Now for our sweetener, we're going to add agave syrup, and I'm going to add about 3/4 of a cup of agave syrup. There we go. And now to make things nice and tender and moist, we're going to add about 3/4 of a cup of applesauce. We're going to use a bit of vanilla. I put in probably about 1.5 teaspoons to give it a really nice vanilla flavor. And last but not least, a cup of hot water. That's it. And we mix this up until it all comes together nicely. What's great about this is that you don't have to worry about over mixing because there's no gluten that's going to build up and make the batter tough. So you can mix as much as you want, but actually after about a minute of mixing, it's all done. So now we're ready to pour the batter into our prepared pans. So I'm going to just pour them in with a spoon, about 3/4 high. A little bit more perhaps. Yeah, there we go. There we go. prepared pans, I'm going to place it into the oven for about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. So let's go into the kitchen. And now I think our muffins are ready. So let's just take a look in the oven. Do you smell it? So here we have our finished muffins, and we get to the taste test. Yeah. All right, which one should I take? I'm gonna take this one. Here we go. Yummers. Yes, it's delicious. I don't know if you can actually see how moist and tender they are, but yes, they're absolutely delicious. A must try. I'm gonna go and finish these off. In the meantime, let me know how your recipes turned out, and I'll see you next time on Opus Culinarius. Bye!